Nobody loves seeing the football thrown over the middle more than I do. And at the same time, I can't blame Justin Fields, Arthur Smith, or anybody for not doing so a single time Sunday in Atlanta. Good morning to you. Good Tuesday morning. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports. This is Daily Shot of Steelers. It comes your way bright and early every weekday. If you're into hockey and or baseball, I also offer daily shots of Penguins and Pirates, and I hope you'll check those out as well. Have you seen Fields' distribution chart, meaning where he threw his passes against the Falcons? That's something that the NFL now provides through what it calls next-gen stats, and it makes its way around social media in a hurry. The one that Fields put together pretty much went viral because it was the Sahara Desert from sideline to sideline. Not a single pass, not intermediate, not deep, not nothing, was thrown over the middle. And that in turn moved a whole bunch of people, including, I should respectfully add, people who should know better, to muse that this was some sort of continuation of Matt Canada or whatever. And I feel, in fairness to Fields, who I thought was pretty good, I'm going to share a couple things that I heard at Mercedes-Benz Stadium that might be able to clear this up, and it really should be cleared up. Pat Freiermuth, among others, told me that the Smith game plan was very purposefully going to aim for the sidelines. Why? Don't overthink it. Atlanta has not one, but two superb safeties in Jesse Bates and Justin Simmons. And there are, in my estimation, exactly 30 other teams that would adopt the same approach. And if anyone wants to have fun with this, go right ahead and monitor the remainder of the Falcons' schedule to see for yourself. I don't expect everyone who's passionate about one franchise to follow every other. I certainly don't. But I do know that the Falcons did this. They made this tandem for this very reason. They were determined to take away the middle of the field. And for 1 week, they did exactly that. Now, there are philosophical things in this to consider, even in that circumstance. Wouldn't you want to soften them up there? Why go away from all the throwing over the middle that you, meaning the Steelers, did all summer long? Are you, in fact, living in your fears, to borrow the Mike Tomlin line? And the only real way to answer that question is to see how they go at the Broncos this Sunday in Denver. My expectation is that you will see them go over the middle, in particular if Fields remains the quarterback. Fields himself has zero issue throwing there. This is not a player-based thing. So just as I would hope that nobody attaches Smith's work to that of Canada, I really, really hope nobody attaches Fields' work to that of Kenny Pickett, although I did see, hear, and read some of that as well. If there was any one victim, if you can call it that, of this approach, it was Freiermuth. That's where he's supposed to be. He's supposed to be the big Heath Miller-looking target, squarely in his quarterback's sight. But as you saw, all four of Freiermuth's targets, and thus all four of his catches, were made moving toward the sideline. Now, I did share with you through the summer that a lot of Freiermuth's routes, in terms of expanding his repertoire and keeping him as involved in the passing game as much as possible, were exactly that. I also let you know that Fields was really good at executing that specific route. You saw why in Atlanta. Those were bullets, and they were money, too. They went exactly where they needed to be, when they needed to be. And to whatever extent that planning specifically involved the Falcons, who were always going to be the Steelers' first opponent, I'd say that's something that you'd praise rather than pan. I liked it. I really liked it. And I don't ever expect to like a scenario in which the team is avoiding throwing over the middle. But I'm not about to argue with 270 yards. I'm not about to argue with a 35-25 time of possession ratio. I saw in this offense Schemes, movement, alignments, unpredictability, imagination, and all kinds of other words that I hadn't been using for many years. When it comes to this offense, don't just look at the scoreboard. Don't even just look at the stats. Look at the film. Look at the opponent. Put it all together. Ask yourself why something was the way it was. They wanted to keep the ball. They wanted to take care of the ball. They wanted to move the ball. And yes, of course, they wanted to score touchdowns. The only thing they didn't do out of that was the latter. And I'll repeat, if Fields is leading the offense in Denver, you're going to see what I'm talking about. But, and you knew I had this coming, I'll bet, I'm not so sure about that if it'll be Russell Wilson. And I fully expect that it'll be Wilson, provided his calf is ready for it, which might not be the case. If he's out there, and this is someone who was the NFL's 2023 leader in sideways passes, meaning passes that were caught behind the line of scrimmage, then I could see some of the complaints, some of the comparisons to the recent past being limited. Yet another point in favor of Fields. When we come back, J1Q. This segment of Daily Shot is brought to you by our good friends at Mike's Beer Bar. They're located on Federal Street, directly across from PNC Park. Mike has more than 500 beers on tap, including from more than 50 local breweries. Stop in and say hello. Tell Mike we sent you. Mike's Beer Bar. Today's J1Q comes from Rudy, who says, DK, do you think that the Steelers will be okay at receiving with what they've got on the 53? I'm going to tell you something, Rudy. When I was leaving Mercedes-Benz Stadium and I was queuing up my Uber app, one of the thoughts that legitimately crossed my mind was that there wasn't a whole lot inside that place that had just disappointed me. But one thing definitely did, and I was kind of starting to swirl in my head about various subjects that I could bring up over the course of the coming week. And one of them was exactly what you just broached there. Exactly that. And then I get to the airport in Atlanta and I'm going through the statistics again, and I see that George Pickens had a terrific game. Terrific. A true WR1 level performance. Other than not getting to the end zone, and even then, I'm not sure some of that was George's fault. Meaning he got ticky-tacked out of a bomb that could have led to something else, etc., etc. But then I looked at Pat Freiermuth, again, 4 catches on 4 targets. Not the optimal that you'll get from a tight end once he's able to catch the ball over the middle, but not bad either. And then there's the rest of the wide receivers. Calvin Austin and Van Jefferson combined for 2 catches and 7 yards. Now, Cal had a nice game on punt return, so I don't want to denigrate the way his Sunday went. But then, if there's one thing that you thought going in, it's that Cal would be good on punt returns and might not necessarily be your WR2, WR3 or whatever. And Jefferson, he was only targeted a couple of times, and one of the throws might have been Fields' worst throw of the day, that coming on the second snap right after the bad exchange. But the point stands. The wide receivers, other than George, caught 2 balls for 7 yards. You know how I'm always telling you, when you're studying what management does or what the coaching staff does, don't listen to what they say, watch what they do. So while they can say to you all summer long, these guys are great, we believe in them, watch what they do. Did they trust them with any significant amount of designed plays against the Falcons? The answer to that is an emphatic no. My goodness, they threw to Michael Pruitt, the either 3rd or 4th string tight end on the roster, as much as they did to Austin and Jefferson. And yeah, while I'm willing, actually eager, to absolve them for a week of not finding the end zone, that's going to have a pretty limited shelf life, I can promise you. And generally speaking, the guys who find the end zone on a regular basis tend to be your more talented types, tend to be the guys who can break away or squirt free in some way. I don't, to answer your question, believe that those players are on this roster. I believe that they can get better. I believe that the group can and will get better just from Roman Wilson being back in the mix, as I'm expecting he'll be this coming week. But anyone who's anticipating that Wilson's going to snap his fingers and be the next Puka, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. He didn't show that this summer. I think he'll be an upgrade over what they're currently putting out there, but I still don't see it. And again, don't listen to what they say, watch what they do. What did Omar Khan try to do multiple times and at considerable expense in the past month alone? Yeah, he was willing to give up a lot of trade capital, a lot of money for years to come to get Brandon Ayuk here. He wasn't doing that to make himself feel better. I appreciate the question more than you might think. I appreciate everyone listening to Daily Shot of Steelers. We're going to do another one of these tomorrow.